So, to introduce Steph, she's the SVP of engineering for CBS Sports. She's in charge of a lot of things, not just CBS Interactive, their fantasy league things. So, she's a real boss. I'm not going to read everything she's in charge of. But in her session, sports is just one of those things that fans really, really care about, and you just can't get the experience wrong. If the delay's too long, if and they have to hear their neighbors celebrating a touchdown, or they have to find out about it on Twitter, you get blamed. If there's so many different things that can go wrong. So it's very interesting to see how for their CBS is building on AWS for their highest profile, most important sports properties. So Steph, take it away.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. Awesome. So for those who don't know me, I'm Steph Lone. I head up all the engineering for CBS Sports Digital. Thank you. And so you guys probably know what CBS Sports is, but you're probably wondering, what does CBS Sports Digital actually mean? So CBS Sports Digital, we like to think about it from preps to pros, literally from high school through the professional sports. So we have Max Preps. That's our high school sports site. It is the #1 U.S. high school sports site around. So we've also got 24/7 Sports. This is our premium college service. We've got, of course, Tentpole CBSSports.com, excuse me, which is our pro sports and our college sports site. We also have Sportsline. Some of you guys know this. It's a sports information picks and projection service. And Fantasy Sports and Scout, the two that are probably really interesting here, at least in terms of video, which I'm going to talk about today, are CBS Sports HQ, and this is our 24/7 live linear network for sports, for news and information, and then our CBSI Advanced Media team. And that team, we actually broadcast about 35,000 events a year, and all of that is actually done through AWS Media Live Services. So today, though, they asked for me to talk about events at large scale. So we had this little event about a month and a half ago. It was really a spectacular event. They wanted me to go into a little bit about the background about it, how we actually were able to stream and be successful streaming an event of this nature and size. So, as you guys know, CBS is a traditional media company. We are we're known as a Tiffany network, right? We're very risk averse. We take a highly redundant approach to everything that we do. And that carries all the way through to how we stream our digital products. We had to, this year, create really a new playbook. In years past, we had always done a lot of partnerships with other third parties in order to get our stream out live. This year, we actually, for the most part, other than partnering with AWS and a few other partners, primarily had everything done in-house within CBS. So from end to end, we wanted to deliver the full experience to the consumer. Let's see. So as our Super Bowl audiences really start to evolve and grow, part of our strategy and our approach here was that we needed to have, one, a lot of redundancy with everything, two, a lot of resiliency, but also have as much control over the event as we could and where things needed to route to during the event, because as you guys, anybody who does a big event knows, things happen in the moment. Things have to change very quickly, and we wanted to have all the control at our fingertips in order to be able to move the stream where we needed to go. So from stream origination all the way to delivery to consumer, we wanted stability and flexibility here. Oops, sorry. Okay. So first I'll talk a little bit about stream origination. Again, themes of redundancy. We had multiple streams coming from Atlanta into multiple regions and multiple redundant centers across the US. So we had the broadcast center here in New York. We had also, we were streaming multiple streams into LA, and also our Stamford, Connecticut facility. So 3 different facilities had all of our streams coming in, both over satellite as well as on fiber. Their feeds were routed into redundant CBS Sports coord rooms, so coordination rooms where we have big Grass Valley switchers, lots of personnel on staff. So one of the things about CBS is our commitment to our advertisers. Super Bowl is clearly a big, big event. We make a lot of commitments to our advertisers. And so, again, being risk averse, we like ensuring that we make all those commitments to our advertisers. So we wanted to ensure stability here for that ad delivery. So we decided not to use DAI. So I know that's a little different than maybe some of the other folks that you hear. We made a conscious decision that we wanted to insert the ads directly into the linear stream. So we worked actually very closely with Grass Valley and their engineers to make enhanced SCUDdy markers and work on their switchers, on their switching software to create enhanced SCUDdy markers. And we burned the ads directly into the stream and then laid the enhanced SCUDdy markers in at the start and endpoints of each of the ads. Our team then created custom software with some consulting help from AWS as well to read those enhanced SCUDdy markers. We turned them into ID3 tags, and then we made ad tracking calls back to our ad serving system. Another interesting thing, and I'll pull my diagram up here for a second, that we did. And so the piece I was talking about just now was on the very right of the diagram, where we brought this into the Elemental Live servers using, we called our ESAM server. It's the name of a protocol. We didn't get really creative here. And then pushed the feedback into the Elemental servers. One thing to note, I think, here is that we did use for this physical hardware, encoding hardware in the broadcast centers in order to bring the stream into these different broadcast centers that we had. All right. So we also worked really closely with the Elemental team on a feature called Hls Output Locking. And if you notice, and this is just one of, I didn't put all the numbers of redundancies we had here, but we needed to be able to switch streams if we needed to. And in order to do that, we had to create, we had to make sure that the time codes would be aligned. So the Elemental team built out Hls Output Locking as a feature for our hardware, the Elemental Live hardware, so that we could seamlessly switch between these different streams if we had any failures. Okay. And then one last thing, I guess, to note here before I go to the next slide again. Sorry, I keep switching back and forth. We decided fairly late in the game that we thought we wanted to do QVBR. And I didn't really know how easy or hard that was going to be. I think a lot of people maybe have the misconception that QVBR will cause you to do more things with your player and everything else. This is literally like a setting on the encoder. We turned it on. It worked. We didn't really have to do a thing. And so we actually went into the event utilizing QVBR during this event. So, and then I guess lastly, before I guess I'll move it to the next start here. We then used Direct Connect and then pushed to 2 redundant regions, East and West, here on Media Store. So with an event the size and scale of Super Bowl, we actually knew we were not going to be able to stream and use only one CDN vendor. We've seen what had happened in the past with other Super Bowls. And so we wanted to be in a really good position, and so we started building out a multi-CDN workflow. As I mentioned before, during a big event, you don't have a lot of time to diagnose what the problem is or what's going on, and you need to be able to seamlessly switch between and give the best experience to the consumer. And so we automated as much as we could, and we partnered with Cdexis and built an open mix application that allowed us to seamlessly switch in decision between the CDNs And we used, as part of our decision making, quality, so the quality of the stream going back to the consumer, the timeliness, and also we had reservation thresholds and caps with each of our CDNs. And so those 3 decision points were what were put into our custom OpenMix app to make the decision about which CDN would be providing with the stream to the end consumer. Again, for the theme of redundancy, I was concerned that only having Cdexis as part of the mix, what happened if they failed? We did actually have a backup. Using Route 53, we were going to do a weighted round robin approach across the CDNs if we had to. We did not have to use that, though. So, I mean, if I can stress anything else within this architecture and this infrastructure, it's really redundancy, redundancy, redundancy. All right. But along with that theme is the theme of testing. Right? So the team, and some of the team members are here today, the team, I think, started testing about 3 to 4 months out on a daily basis, 2 hours a day. We tested everything from the price of one of our shows. I don't even remember if The Price is Right or one of the shows. Every day for a couple of hours, trying to make sure that we start practicing all of our plans and all of our failover plans. We tested with small live events. We tested with big live events. We wrote a playbook. That playbook was probably, I don't know, 20 pages long. What happens if this fails? What happens if this piece fails? We practice, we test, we failed, we started again, did it again and again. We practiced on the little live events, the big live events. We practiced with synthetic audience, our own. Other third parties came and did synthetic load tests with us. And then we also practice with some larger live events like the AFC Wildcard. And then like with anything else, communication is key, right? We actually had multiple war rooms. Because of the size and the nature and the number of teams we were working with, my team is a global team. A lot of the other teams we're working with are global teams. While this event was primarily in the US, it was critical that we had a really good communication system going. So we actually split the teams up in the war rooms by location and by subject matter. And so here in New York, for example, it was primarily around ingest and encoding of the stream. We had a team out in San Francisco. They were focused on the multi-CDN workflow and making sure that the delivery to the consumer from the CDN side was functional. And then we had in Fort Lauderdale, where I'm actually from, the application and site delivery team. And they were responsible to make sure all the clients the quality of the stream coming to the clients and that the OTT apps were up and everything else. We practiced this war room over and over and over again as well, and even ran a few live events with people co-located where they were going to be so that we could tweak the communication between all of us so we knew exactly how it was going to be that day. So if I stress nothing else, I think it's redundancy, testing, and communication, and that's the key to how you run a large live event. So that's all I had. So I think you guys wanted me to offer up some Q&A. I don't know. So I'll take any questions that you guys have.
Did you have to switch?
No. Switch. Well, let me.
Do you mind?
Sure. Sure. The question was, did I have to switch? Which area are you thinking about?
The duplicate stream.
So from a streaming perspective, actually, it's funny. We tested and tested and tested, and that is something we actually did not have to do, is move from like the East region to the West region, or encoder 1 to encoder 2. I will say that we did during the event find that some CDNs were performing better in some locations than others. And so we were actively routing traffic to different. Cdexis was automatically routing traffic, but we were also augmenting that by actively routing traffic as well. Good question. Good. The question was, how did we deal with end-to-end latency relative to the broadcast feed? So we knew going into this that we were going to have latency. There was going to be latency. And we basically took steps to cut a lot of the hops that were in our original workflow down. So the number of hops really in our workflow, the same feeds came in from the broadcast center were the same feeds that we were using. The rest of the latency is really minimal, but each platform vendor does introduce latency. And so we did see platform by platform. There could be anywhere from almost instantaneous on some platforms, all the way through up to like 30 seconds of latency on other platforms. So as quickly as we could push through the packets, we had 6-second segment chunks. We didn't really go much more granular than that. We felt that that was enough, but it does, once you kind of get downstream into the platforms, some latency is introduced on different platforms. Good question. Sure. The question was, what was the advantages to burning the ads into the linear stream? So I watch the Super Bowl every year. In some cases, in years prior, you may not have seen ads, or you may have seen Slate in certain spots where there was supposed to be an ad because something misfired with how the ads were inserted. So wanted to ensure that we made all of our advertiser commitments, and so if you were going to receive a stream, you were going to get the ads. And so that was an advantage. What was a disadvantage to do that? We had to write custom software. So we actually had to take an approach with both Grass Valley and with writing our own custom software to do that ad insertion marker, extract all this information out of the SCUDdies and transform the tags. So there was work there, and there's probably, I don't know, maybe two months of development, and then 4 more months of testing. So over the course of like 6 months to perfect that for us. So that's just for the Super Bowl, I will say. So we use DAI for a lot of other things. We just didn't choose to use it for this Super Bowl. Yeah, no worries. Sure.
A lot of viewers use mobile devices, tablets, phones to watch content like what you're describing right now. Can you talk about any cooperation you have with mobile carriers like Verizon and AT&T, if at all, to optimize content over their network?
Yeah, so the question is, what did we do with any of the mobile carriers directly? I would say that we didn't actually spend a lot of time with the carriers themselves. All of our applications live on their platforms. We actually worked with the platforms themselves to make sure they were ready for the size of the downloads that were coming, the number of downloads that were coming, marketing presence and how they linked. But in terms of working with the carriers directly for a different experience, we didn't do that.